webinar. Proud to have Shaurya on the webinar with us. We'll get to know more about him, discuss what's happening, what's he's been up to. So quick check. So why don't you tell us something about yourself, Shaurya?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Shaurya Sinha. I am currently a gap year student at Stanford University. I will be going to Stanford University next year. I'm a part of the class of 2025. Before that, I was a high school student, as you normally are at the age of 17, studying in the Shri Ram School of Ravli in Gurgaon, which is right next to New Delhi. And for the past 6 months, I've been working on creating my own YouTube channel, which has been all been about the college application process when you're applying to the US. And the whole idea of sleep deprived dreamers, which is the platform that I've used Nourished for, is to try and bring an online course to help people write their college application essays. So that's just a little bit about me and who I am.
Thanks. So sleep deprived dreamers. Let me start with that first. So how did you come up with that name?
It's really interesting. I when I was applying to Stanford initially, they have an essay prompt. So Stanford has tons of short essays, and one of their short essays was describe yourself in 5 words. And I've been thinking for it for a long period of time. And a lot of people, when they usually approach the answer, say determined, passionate, persistent, and like really like singular adjectives. But I try to come up with a phrase, and the phrase I ended up sticking with was happily dissatisfied sleep deprived dreamer. And I really like the phrase sleep deprived dreamer, because for me it was trying to realize your dreams
Hmm.
not when you're sleeping but when you're actually awake.
Yeah.
So trying to manifest them in real life, as opposed to just like seeing this nice la la land of what you want to do. So I really like the idea of that, and I feel like a lot of high school students would describe themselves the same way, because the amount of workload you have,
Yeah.
but still the aspiration to do something outside of the classroom.
So digressing right now, do you really believe that if you manifest it, it does come true? Are you of that belief that the universe sends you energy towards your dreams?
I do think so. I think realistically speaking, Stanford has an acceptance rate of what, 4%. I had like it's statistical suicide in my opinion to apply to Stanford and expect to get in. I did not expect to get in. All I knew is if I put in the hard work and I try to manifest something, my dream would be realized as well. And I think that's all you can do. After you put in the effort, after you slog, it's not that you shouldn't put in effort, but after you do that, what you can do is just manifest it and really, really wish for it to come to. Like Shah Rukh Khan would say, "Kainat aligns." So yeah, that's just something that my family's instilled in me.
So on that note, so let me kind of bring you back to the questions that we have, and a lot of people actually reached out to us, and I wanted to find out about what you're doing, how are you doing it. We have generally we see that while the platform has been built, that anybody can actually quickly build their content and launch it on Nourish. So it's been built to be super easy for anybody to use it. But you, as a young person or young adult, being able to kind of do what you want to do quickly without losing time. So that's really the kind of crux of this webinar, that anybody can do it.
Definitely,
And
exactly.
so I'm going to start with the first question. A lot of people struggle in the 9 to 5 grind. They will kind of want to get out of the corporate culture, or maybe do something on the side, like a
Hmm.
passive income. So how did you come up with the idea that maybe
Right.
you could convert your knowledge into an online course?
Right, definitely. I think one of the most important things when you're trying to run any service or provide any value to the internet is, I think, for a period of time you have to create a community, and without that community, you're really going to get nowhere. So I think when I started out the entire concept of sleep deprived dreamers, it didn't start off with a monetizable online platform. It started off with a YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel I consistently gave free information, which private counselors might be charging lakhs and lakhs for, on the internet. And I cultivated these subscribers, and I started with 100 subscribers, 200 subscribers, and then slowly I've built a community of, I would say, 23,000 individuals from about like 25 countries across the world. So I think giving that creating that community on a platform like YouTube really helped me kickstart, and try and see, okay, now that I have this community, now that I have these individuals who obviously trust what I'm saying, because the information is verifiable, it's of value to people, how can I really take it to the next level and try to make this a source of income on the side, but more importantly give value to something. Because what I've noticed on free platforms like YouTube is that people will value your content, but not as much as how much they would value it if they have their own skin in the game. So I tried this out on YouTube. I put like a a 3-part series. Like I tried to create a mini online course on just high school entrepreneurship. The first video got like 35,000 views, 40,000 views, and then the second got 9,000 views, third got again another 9 or 10,000 views. So I think that what I realized is that when you want to create a full online course with a lot of value and also benefit from it yourself, you can't do that on free platforms on like YouTube. You have to try and create an online course where you can charge for it. So I think that's really what helped me come up with the idea of creating my own online platform. And the biggest insecurity people have is coding nahi aata, HTML nahi aata. How can I possibly create an entire thing out of nothing? And initially, I tried to think of something like Skillshare, which is another web-based platform where content creators can go and set up their own thing. But again, the ability to monetize over there is probably like 10 cents on the dollar of what you can do if you create your own platform. And I think that's the value of Nourish. Like sitting in quarantine, I, as an 18-year-old, could launch an entire business just out of one single room. Like all it took was, energy, sleep, and then the availability of tools like Nourish. But after that, it's really powerful what technology can allow you to do.
I mean, I really like the bit you said that all you need is one room, probably a laptop, and energy and sleep. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's really democratization of technology right there. That anybody can actually start their online business in just a few days. So, second part to that question: how much time did it actually take you to make that website?
Right. So the actual website itself, as in like the technical website, I'd say about 4 days to put the entire thing together. There were a few bugs
Wow.
here and there, but Nourish's tech team was super helpful in getting me to create the entire platform really quickly. But I'd say that 4 days is a product of thinking. So the entire thing had been incubating in my
Yeah.
head. What would I like my website to be? What would I like my service to be? What would I like to have my offering centered around? What will the pricing be? But after all of that was done, really making it happen literally just took 4 days.
Amazing. And the reason why I wanted to ask you that question is because while we know ourselves that it does take, I mean, people have gone live with their one page of website in just one day and started selling their online courses. And when you compare that to, let's say,
Right.
a WordPress website, it can take ages and months to just get a decent website. And there's so many things:
Mhm.
firewall, security, payment gateways. So there are so many angles that kind of
Right.
come combined as a package deal, and you kind of quickly launch your online courses. So next question. So now that the website is ready, and you did mention that you are kind of very active on YouTube as well. So one of the biggest questions that people get asked or people ask us is, how do we make content? One, and second, I am not camera friendly. So how do I make videos? So any advice on that?
Both, very good questions. I'd say the solution to being camera friendly is get in front of the camera more. I started off as an aspiring, filmmaker, even with like a small, handheld camera when I was about 12 years old. And I've always personally been more comfortable behind the camera because I can control what's going on in front of me. But it was only after starting my YouTube channel, I'd say after creating my first 10, 15 videos, was I really comfortable in front of the camera. And I think being comfortable in front of the camera is just really a combination of two things. Number one, you need to start getting, comfortable in public eye. You need to be comfortable with the fact that people are going to be evaluating your work, and that evaluation can be positive or negative. So I think starting off on a platform like YouTube or starting with, videos that you're sharing with your family and friends, very easy ways to get used to that. And the second thing is learning how to articulate your thoughts well, learning how to communicate well. And that's honestly just, again, practice. Standing in front of the mirror trying to deliver a 1 minute, like ask yourself to talk about a topic for 1 minute and just upload the video really quickly. And I think with platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, for a brief period of time, it's become very easy for anyone sitting in their own house to just create a video and become more camera friendly. And on the technical side of things, no, you don't really need a DSLR. You don't need a really good camera. Surprisingly, what I noticed with a platform like Nourish is that the quality of the video you upload, because YouTube handles so many videos, it will compress your footage and make it a lot worse than what it initially was. So if I upload a 1080p video to YouTube, it's probably going to get compressed down, and its natural size is going to be about 720p or something like that. But with Nourish, because you have the entire domain for yourself, and probably because of a very strong technical framework, the quality of the videos are a lot better. So even if you shoot with a handheld camera, even if you shoot with a phone, I can virtually guarantee that the quality of your online course will be extremely good. And then on the other side of the technical things, just two things: lighting and audio. I think people will watch videos with bad quality, people will not watch videos which have a bad audio. If there's wind disturbance, instantly people are going to click off because it's just very disturbing for them and for their ears. So I'd say invest in a lapel mic, which is a mic you're going to clip onto your collar or your sleeve, or invest in a small shotgun microphone. Very, very small minor investments that will go a long way. And if you do well with your online course, you'll make that money back instantly. And with lighting, natural lighting is the best. Right now I'm sitting in the room where I shot my entire online course literally, and I'd wake up at 11 o'clock in the morning, and in front of me there's just a window, and that natural lighting is more than enough to set me up. So you don't have to buy any fancy rigs, you don't have to buy fancy cameras. Literally just with a phone and a good microphone, you're good to go.
Great, thank you so much. So, and yeah, a lot of people actually do think that you need a fancy DSLR, you need a person with a video who's going to manage it, then a lot of lighting. So, amazing. So, do you have you also invested in maybe high end phone or maybe a ring lights or stuff like that, or do you just do the laptop camera?
Surprisingly, no. So I do have a DSLR which I invested in just because I'd started a YouTube channel and I was trying to, create like a really good, good piece of content. But that like the camera I use is a Canon 750D. I bought it, I'd say 3 or 4 years back, and I've been using it since then. So after you become video friendly, after you know what you want to do with the camera, I think then it's a good investment to make. But no, I don't use any ring light. I probably should because I do film in the night from time to time. The one thing I've noticed with ring lights is just that, if you're wearing specs, for example, you can see the ring, just like a common thing. I can, I can see it with George as well. So yeah, I think like some of these things you don't realize, but you realize when you make the investment. So it's a helpful learning regardless.
Exactly, and I realize that you can see the ring light right now, and it's difficult. So wearing contacts might just be a better option
Yeah,
sometimes if you're
I wear
comfortable with it.
contacts. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I wear contacts.
yeah. I personally am not comfortable with contacts, so
Hmm.
hence the glasses. Uh,
Right.
so I just wanted to go quick, although it is out of what we do. So I just wanted to quickly show people that this is all you need to make content. I'm going to quickly join in from the phone, and I'm going to quickly show the setup that we use. So pardon me if the setup doesn't look that great, but yeah, so I mean, this is basically what a ring light looks like.
Hmm.
Obviously, the camera is facing it, so that's why it's become so dark, and that's why I am I kind of look like this. So the lighting actually becomes a lot better. I'll just quickly focus on this, and I'm just using a this. If you see here, this is the no, yeah, this is the. I mean, yeah. So basically, it's just a HD cam that I'm using. Logitech, simple, use, and kind of does the job very easily. So, and if you and we're making content right now, so that's what a Logitech webcam will be for about 1,500 rupees, 2,000 rupees. This ring light will be for barely for 1,000 rupees, even with a good brand. So 2,500 rupees, and your setup is ready for making really good high quality content because you have like a 1080p camera and a ring light to get the lighting properly. So yeah, you're right. It doesn't take much effort to actually make good content there. So quickly moving on to the next question. You have the equipment available. You have
Hmm.
the name sorted. Then how do you decide what will be the structure of that content?
Right. I think that really does depend on the kind of course you're trying to make. So for me, it was all about college essay writing, and I really broke down the college essay writing process into four big chunks. I wanted to talk about reflection and thinking about what you want to talk about. I wrote about storytelling, which is how do you tell a good story. The third section was all about writing and really picking up template essays, and the fourth section was all about editing. So I think that it's very important for you to have a framework to the course that you're trying to create. So if you look at learning a software, for example, if you want to learn video editing, Adobe Premiere Pro is going to have a few different elements to it that you can try and structure in an online course. And I think that structure is going to be very important for two reasons. Number one, when you're creating your content, it will give you a really good vision in terms of what to research for. So if you've created these buckets, you're going to be like, okay, now today I'm going to try and research to create an episode on storytelling. What aspects of storytelling can I try and create content for? And number two, when you're communicating your entire course to people, it's very easy for them also to understand what value it is you're providing them, because you're giving them, this very tangible framework. So I think that that structure is extremely important when you're creating an online course, and it comes out of a product of a lot of research. Because for me in the beginning, I had no structure, and I was literally reading everything there was to read on the college application essay writing process. I thought back on my experiences over the last 4 years, thinking about the college essay, writing the college essay, interacting with private counselors who are helping people get into US colleges. So I think a lot of that research will finally get distilled and give you some form of structure.
Thank you so much. And so, when did you decide? So I've gone through your website, and it's written really well. And so, when did you decide that, as far as the structure goes, webinars with existing students who have gone into these Ivy League colleges, that would be a good idea for a content? So what I'm basically trying to understand is, how do you decide what kind of content, not just the course outline, but what kind of content will actually do well for the course?
Right. I think that you should evaluate the current courses that are being offered by other individuals. So what I did was, when I said I want to create an essay writing course, I went and looked at what other people were offering, and I tried to see what could I provide that they might not necessarily be able to. And as a student, the one thing I was able to leverage was the fact that I knew other students at really prestigious colleges and universities like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT. So what I realized was, I will not only make this an online course which someone can take asynchronously, I also want to make this an interactive course where I can have 25 full-length interviews with students who've actually gotten into these colleges. And the benefit of that is that a college application essay is not just one perspective. So it's almost unfair for me to create an entire course about the college essay, because that's just my perspective. Every individual and every student who's applied to college has their own take on the college essay, and that's why I found it extremely helpful to try and bring in other faces into the program. And then the third service I also offer with the course is giving a college application essay review. So it's not just a course, it's not just a set of interviews where we discuss accepted essays. It's also a reviewing service where I will review a student's college application essay and give them really detailed feedback on the story structure, the strength of the ideas, the ability for it to be edited well. So I'd say trying to level up your content compared to what other people are offering is extremely helpful when you're trying to create your own course.
Yeah, that's like a great idea actually. So what you can't, so two heads better than one is what they say. So if you can actually get people who are more experienced in that domain, and pick their brains to get more content out of them. And so, in a way, I think, now that the people have learned that being online and reaching out to people is a lot easier than setting up the logistics of going somewhere, meeting somebody, recording it, setting it up. Just quickly get on a Zoom call and record the whole thing, and that's it. Bang! You, in 1 hour, you have great content available. Um,
Exactly.
so that brings me to the next question, talking about content. So I I really love your website because it's very well designed. But I think the bigger aspect of it for somebody who's very young like you is that you've really nailed the website content really well. Every page tells a great story, and it's not very salesy, yet it's salesy enough for that people somebody gets it and buys the course, or at least gets interested in it. How did you come
Mhm.
up with writing the content for it?
I think because I was on such a fast pace, I decided to create this entire program. I'd say 3 weeks ago. I started, researching on the episodes and spent, all my time researching, creating the content, and then finally filming the episodes and editing the episodes, which took another 2.5 weeks. So I was really on the final stretch when I was like, okay, now it's time to really sell this course. And I think a few basic things I'd tell you is, number one, as an 18-year-old, I'm often very skeptical of asking for money, just because I'm a kid, and a lot of when you're asking for money from adults, it can come off the wrong way. So you have to be very sensitive in the way that you're trying to communicate your value to people. Having a course at the price tag of $195 was something I was initially, a little hesitant with.
Yeah.
But then I think a few things as children you pick up intuitively. Number one, things sound better in threes. Some a very basic rhetoric principle that even someone like Aristotle would have spoken about is try and how can you present your content effectively. What I realized was that people only absorb very short sentences, but you also have to make sure that they think that the website is comprehensive. So my website tries to strike a really strong balance of having simple marketing statements, like the idea of sleep deprived dreamers, while also being really comprehensive in a page like course outline, where you really want to get in depth of what your course is offering, giving practical learnings, giving episode listings. So I'd say that's one combination I try to strike for. Another thing on the same lines of asking for money, I try to establish my credibility. Why should you be the individual who is giving this course? What makes you the right person to distribute and disseminate this learning? I pointed to my YouTube channel and I said, over the last 4 or 5 months, I've managed to garner, I'd say, 730,000. Right now, it's currently at 1 million plus views on the college application process. I myself have gone through the college application process. I've made it to a university like Stanford. So I think when you're communicating your message, credibility becomes extremely, extremely important, and that's the biggest thing you should do. And the third thing I think I did with an online course, that if you can do this, when you do create a course, it's great. Try to have a scholarship option. I created something called the Dreamer Scholarship, because the first thing I knew students would say is, oh, I can't afford this. Okay, if you can't afford this, and I have a financial aid program, I have a scholarship program, I will give you 50% off, I'll give you 65% off, I'll give you 100% off if the essays that you're responding with, which I put like a Google form link over there, and people could write essay responses to questions I'd ask. If your responses are really good and captivating, more than happy to give you full access to this course, because education of all kinds should be accessible at the end of the day. So I'd say, having powerful statements while also
Yeah.
showing how comprehensive you are, showing credibility, and if you can, making sure that your information is at the end of the day accessible. Those are three things I try to keep in mind when I was creating my website.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the scholarship that you offer. I mean, that's very noble. Ultimately, it is a for-profit business, obviously, but the fact
Hmm.
that you actually offer something like that and make it accessible for everybody, that's really amazing. A lot of people
Definitely.
don't do that, but that really also kind of also helps me highlight one more point here, that within the platform itself, you have the option available for just simply generating coupons, and then you can quickly decide whom to give, what kind of discount you want to offer based on how they qualify for it. So I'm going to digress a little bit here, and I'm going to ask you one question. Although I think you've already answered in some way, but besides YouTube marketing, how do you really promote your online courses? How do you make sure they sell well?
Yeah, I think that so interestingly enough, my YouTube community also stretches across different platforms, obviously. So since it's a very social media heavy platform, I had YouTube, I had Instagram. I think a platform like Reddit is extremely helpful to help you find really tight knit communities for what you want to offer. So Reddit, for example, has an entire community called Applying to College, which is all about the college application process. And if you start giving really good free information there, they're going to start valuing you. So I think that finding tight knit communities where which are looking for the same service or information that you're trying to provide is extremely helpful when you're trying to create an online course. And apart from that, I did your typical email marketing. I downloaded MailChimp. I learned the ropes on MailChimp. It's a very helpful marketing software that you could try and use and learn how to use. And then the last thing I'd say is just word of mouth. I think if your course is extremely valuable, they're going to start talking about it. And since it's high school students, word gets around really quickly. So, I managed to get kids from Indonesia, kids from Philippines, kids from the United States, kids from Pakistan, kids from India, and all of them started talking about it in their high schools. And that slowly, led to the growth.
Great, thank you. So no ad budget, nothing like you had you spent money on social media ads?
Zero, 0 rupees spent on social
That's
media ads.
that's amazing. That's amazing because generally what you're seeing is that to make ₹2 or $2, you have to spend $1 in ad spend, be it on Facebook or Google. So if you've been able to sell 1.5 lakhs or whatever amount number you've sold so far with zero ad spend, that's amazing. So overall, I think we're just about nearing the end of the session here. So overall, what do you think is what would you suggest to upcoming creators who are who are thinking about launching an online course and not there yet? What is your advice to them?
Yeah, I'd say that today, given the saturation of the idea of an online course, as well as the kind of information you're trying to offer, if you feel like you're breaking into an industry that has a lot of competition, for example, video editing, creative writing, college applications, anything, you have to be an individual who's known yet. The first thing, when I reached out to private counselors who were offering the same service I was offering to, when I reached out to them with my product, they said, if you weren't Shaurya Sinha, we wouldn't be interested in this course. So it's very important for people to understand that the reason my program has done well is because I've been learning about the college application process for 4 years, and then I finally managed to release it onto the internet over a process of 9 months, garnered a huge community because of the value of that information, and finally I'm monetizing it. So even though on a poster you might be able to say, oh, Shaurya Sinha in 2 weeks has managed to gross X amount of money, that 2 weeks is doesn't do justice to the amount of time it actually takes to grow an audience. And I'm not saying it'll take you 4 years, I'm not saying it'll take you 9 months, it could even take you 3 months or 2 weeks. But the point is that you have to offer some sort of value, and you have to be known as some figure before you can really be like, oh, would you be willing to pay $150 in this? Because for someone to invest in you, they have to trust you, and the best way for them to trust you is for them to look at other works you've done. And if those works are free, then they're the most accessible, and then they're the most likely to be seen by the world.
Yeah, that's social proof. That's a great confirmation of your work, and especially testimonials as well. So I think a lot of people forget that if you have videos of your existing learners share reviews about your work, be it on social media platform or on your website, that's great work, because they know that that kind of adds trust in your brand, just like you said. So
Exactly.
we have a question from the audience. I think you might have answered it in different ways, but I'll still bring it up on the screen. How would you answer this question? How
How
to
to
price
price
it?
your
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I spent a great amount of time thinking about this. I'd say if you're not the first to do what you're doing, try and look at what other people are pricing for the same kind of value you're offering. For me, if I looked at other people, I was looking at private counselors, and they were charging upwards of 3 lakhs for an essay writing package, and mine in comparison is 14,625 rupees. So I'd say I massively, massively undercut the people who were around me while still trying to do justice to the quality of the information I was offering. And another thing I'd say, if you're pricing your course, these are just like very basic pricing tactics, which shouldn't take too much time of yours to learn. Set an initial price, have an early bird release, keep the early bird release. So initially I said, my course is for $195. But then I made sure that the initial price that the first 50 students were getting was $155. So try to create ways to incentivize people to really jump at your course the moment they see it and feel like, oh, make your customer feel special, whoever they are. So for example, since I have a value, since the price of my course is high enough for me to have a few students a day, like even if I get 2 or 3 students a day, that's a very good source of passive income. I will communicate with each of those students personally. The discount code I make will be their name, anything for them to feel like they really are the center of attention when it comes to my entire platform. So I say those are a few things you should keep in mind when you're pricing.
Yeah, very true. And I think every course has a different kind of a pricing attractivity to it, if that's the right choice of term. There are online courses which are available for 300 rupees as well. There are online courses which are available for lakhs as well. It depends on the brand behind it, the trust factor behind it, and the amount of effort involved by the instructor in supporting the students. So if I think if it's just a pre-recorded set of videos and there's nothing else beyond it, pricing it low will be probably beneficial. But if you have your own personal time invested with your students, weekly basis, whatever the frequency is, I think then it definitely makes sense to price it higher as compared to just pre-recorded videos or other content. So that brings me to the next question that audience member has asked. Very well written, I guess. Archit is asking tips to determine the unique selling point or USP for an online course. How would you identify that?
Definitely. I think I have covered this in my answers, in the sense that I really tried to talk about what it was that my course offered that other courses around me were not able to offer. So if other courses were offering just worksheets to try and write essay writing courses, I gave videos, which I already feel like is more unique because it's a lot more engaging. I also provided interviews where I was actually talking to kids who got accepted into Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT, universities. And then I also tried to offer accepted essays. I also offered my personal time. So I think those are a few things that will help you really realize what sets you apart from your competition. Because the term online course is extremely non-specific, because I
Yeah.
could create an online course about video editing, I could do it about automobiles.
Yes.
So it's very important for you to find in your category what is it that can set you apart. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that you're going to realize when you start doing it yourself.
Very true. And I think we've just reached the end of the time here. So I'll just ask you one last question and then we will let you go for the day. Naveen has already put in the question. I'll just show it on the screen. What tools are you using to provide customer service? How do you do that?
Right. Because I'm interacting with high school students, the easiest way for me to connect with them is through like Instagram and social media. But again, that's not the most professional. I think the benefit with Nourish is, number one, having a custom domain integration. So I use GoDaddy. With GoDaddy comes GoDaddy Mail. I have a free account that I use, which is Shaurya at sleepdepriveddreamers.com. I generally do most of my customer service through there. MailChimp helps me automate a lot of that customer service when I want to communicate with my scholarship winners, when I want to communicate with leads. All of those things happen through MailChimp. And I think that's about all I use when it comes to customer service. And then, when I have to announce scholarship winners, for example, or announce the early bird sales, my YouTube channel is extremely quick and easy to do that as well. But I'd say if you're doing customer service, make sure that, there are different kinds. I'd say one, try to have one which is really personal and in a one-on-one basis. Two, have one which will allow you to talk to a large amount of people with minimal effort from your end. Yeah, I think those are like the two tips that I would say when it comes to customer service.
Great. I wish you all the best for your future and your Stanford education. I hope you do really well. Set up an amazing billion-dollar company that does amazing work in the social arena. I mean, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. See you. See you next Saturday then.
Bye.